We are almost back on schedule. That's amazing. All right. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. The world has gone crazy, folks. You know it. I know it. So there's probably no better time to have a security system installed at your home or your business. East Tennessee's leader is Safety Systems. VFL JJ Zerlis has been putting these things in people's homes for 20-something years. It's a great company. Really is. They were out at my house recently because they do entertainment systems, they do security systems, home, office. Just give them a call. Safety Systems. Visit their website. You'll see all the many things that they do. But in terms of security systems, there's a reason you see that little orange, white, and black sticker that says Safety Systems on so many East Tennessee businesses as you walk in their door. All right. Very simple question, fellows. And obviously we're making a guess based on a whopping 8 games. What's the ceiling for Josh Heupel at Tennessee? Is this guy is his high end? He can win an SEC championship with this guy in this system. Is it, he may be able to win an East, 8-9 games. What's his ceiling at Tennessee? Anybody want to go first?
Wow. I'll take a stab at it. I think he looks to me, if he gets better players, stays decent on defense, it looks to me like it could be an 8 or 9 win. Maybe if you have a really good year, you get to 10. Is that good enough to compete in the East? Could be. I mean, what does Georgia do? What does Florida do? Because if you'll remember back during Tennessee's glory days in the 90s, the West was awful.
Right.
It was terrible. So do you get to hear and other people fall back? I think that's just about as important as where you can get to. But I'm going to say right now, he looks like hey, I can compete in the East, but do you win it and win the SEC? I mean, hard to answer right now.
But, I mean, really, do you need anything more? Because, I mean, if you can get to the SEC championship game, you can get in the playoffs, right? I mean, like you said,
Especially when it's expanded here.
Yeah.
Although the other leagues are now talking about taking that 12-team plan back to 8-team plans, but still.
But it doesn't matter. If you can win the SEC, if you get in the SEC game, championship game, you got a shot to win it. And if you win it, chances are you're going to the playoffs. So, I mean, at the end of the day, saying where's his cap is, do you think he can get a year where he could beat a Georgia and beat a Florida and get into that SEC championship game? I think getting the right amount of players, you've got a guy, and that's why I said defense is one of the keys, and offensive line is the key here. You got a guy that can scheme up and score 28, 30 points on a lot of people.
Right.
If I can get a defense and a run game to be able to control some time and keep the other guy down and get 1 or 2 turnovers, then I can win those games.
I don't know that you can ever have a defense that can do that with this offense. It'd be my fear. Bobby, you were going to jump in there.
I just think that, I think that he has the ability with his system. If you get there, then you got a chance, and that's the only thing that I see is his system. If it will get him there, then you play that one game. Heck, you got an SEC championship.
Yeah, but I think there's certainly the potential for a peak year.
Yeah.
But fair or not, Josh Heupel wasn't hired to have a peak year. He was hired for sustained big-time success. And the barrier to that is recruiting. Kirby Smart said it yesterday. You can't out-scheme talent. And Georgia, you watch them play. Nobody's asking them to recruit number 1, number 2 recruiting classes for 4 or 5 years. But the recruiting has to improve if they're going to have the sustained success. You can have some success, but I may have an idea that there's a guy named Butch somewhere that if you win 8 or 9 games frequently, fans might not be okay with that over time. When you get to that point, they want more.
They didn't even like it the first time.
Exactly. And so he can have a peak year, but to sustain that, the recruiting has to be better. And without that, they can't have it.
And I think then that goes back to your competition.
Well, sure.
I mean, once
but
again,
we can't predict.
The Clemson and Georgia stay where they're at. North Carolina's coming on now, starting to get better recruits than they did. Are you going to be recruiting against that? Because once again, in the 90s, you went in and you had your pick. I mean, you went in and picked the guys. I heard they got the best player out of Ole Miss or Mississippi one year. You hear that?
I mean, somewhere.
I'll let you guys guess who sent me this. Heupel will win the SEC outright and put the Vols in the playoffs. We can win the national championship with the Hype Dog. National champions. Baby!
Yeah.
He didn't say the old baby, but I wanted to get that. But see, I go ahead, Bob. Finish it.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I think this guy's, once again, on the limited thing we've seen, you're talking about 8 or 9 and get there, and then do you have that success that gets you to 11 or
because listen, to win one, you got to have breaks. You're not going to be the best every day,
Right.
And that's why I say with an offense like this, you need something else too, because your offense is going to have a slightly bad day, not as good day. So can you get enough on the other side to win that game?
And I get the wanting people to come back down, but I haven't seen anything in a long time suggest that Georgia's going anywhere. Like Georgia, this feels real sustainable for them, and that's a problem for Tennessee to get past them because when they're looming, when you got to play Alabama every year, and Georgia's looming, that's just so hard because you have to steal one.
They feel an awful like Tennessee in the '90s to me, where it was all talent. You're not really when you went against a guy who was more of a schemer, you had trouble with Spurrier. But it was all talent. And he has, when he's gone up against Saban, he's had his issues going up against Saban. Now, Saban's got great talent, too. I just think Georgia, to me, right now, feels a lot like the 1990 Vols. Yeah. Loaded with talent, always in the mix, can't quite seem to get past the other big dog in the conference, and it fell off real quick with Tennessee. It can fall off.
It could.
That said, I think 8-9 wins is probably the ceiling. I don't think that's going to be good enough for this fan base. But for me, if I'm the administrator over there, and I'm looking through the valley of death that you've been walking through, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Not forever, but if you're telling me he wins 9 games and gets you to a B-level bowl for the next 4 or 5 years, let's say once he builds it up, you get 4 straight 8-win, 9-win seasons. I'm not running him out the door to restart this process and go back to the toddler stage. If I'm Vol fan, I know this fan. I grew up in this fan base. They're going to want him fired the first year he wins 8. Not good enough, not a champion. But to me, I would look at it and say, let's build a foundation. Let's get our name back. Let's buff off this helmet to where you can see that orange T and be proud of it again. Then we'll worry about winning championships. But I don't know. I know how fans and boosters act. They don't view it analytically like that. They just want the titles.
For whatever it's worth, we talk about the peak year. Can you avoid the bottom falling out year?
Yes.
Like Twitch has, like Pruitt has.
Good point. Good point.
All right. When we come back, let's talk about, we had to change the show up a little bit because Kentucky had Mississippi State do to them last night what we thought Tennessee would do to them next week, which might change what Tennessee is able to do to them next week. So let's talk Tennessee, Kentucky next. Come on back on the Sports Source.